Welcome to another episode of Dad's Rules with Kevin Belzer. And today is going to be a special episode because today I'm actually going to be a guest on somebody else's podcast, which is why you see me sitting on the wrong side of the table. So today I will be meeting with your media guy, Daquota, and we're going to be talking all things social media. And out of his generosity, we're going to be rebroadcasting this on Dad's Rules podcast. So sit back and enjoy.
All right, I'm Daquota. I'm your media guy. Today I have with me Mr. Kevin Belzer. He's crazy. He jumps in pools, but he's mastering social media. He's doing a whole bunch of stuff on there. And I said a whole bunch, like, how many posts a day are we at?
Bad days 15 up to 30.
So lots of posting, lots of content creation. So Kevin, like, what are you doing and how are you using social media to further your game and sort of you're a real estate agent, so help you sell houses or generate leads?
Well, I'm doing it for two purposes. So I'm doing it, yes, for the real estate side of things. So on that, it's everything from video shoots we've done at properties to just generic little walkthroughs. Like that's what I posted about yesterday. It could be reviews from clients, just a lot of things that are just continually saying that I'm raising my hand saying, hey, I'm a realtor. Hey, I'm a realtor, over and over again. So that's the real estate side of things. And it's all over the map. I try to make them crazy, try to make them stand out, but I also have the boring stuff too, because the boring stuff also works for people. And then I do a lot of stuff that revolve around my podcast and my books. That's my Dad's Rule stuff. That's the shirt I'm wearing today if somebody's watching online. So I do stuff that's advertising that. So there's a lot of reels for that. So there's multiple reels of that. And then it's posting across all social media sites. So it's YouTube, it's your Instagram, your TikTok, your Facebook, it's LinkedIn, it's everywhere.
Yeah. So, I mean, that takes a lot of work, but like what benefits have you seen from posting what benefits have you seen from posting cross-platform?
Say that 10 times fast.
Yeah, I can't say it once.
Well, to me, and this is how I explained it to a new agent the other day, because he was only Instagram. And I said, well, what if what you're posting on Instagram went flat there, but it would have blown up on YouTube or TikTok? I had one the other day that blew up on TikTok, but yet it was flat on Instagram. You don't know where it's necessarily going to hit that day. Maybe they monkeyed with the algorithms. I don't know how the back end of that stuff works. So my feeling has always been post all that content everywhere and let it figure it out for you.
Yeah. And I think that's a big thing when it comes to growing a brand. Like, we don't want to just be Facebook or just Instagram. Like, there's no reason just to be in one spot. Like, you wouldn't just ask for leads from one location. Like, give me all the leads from everywhere. So,
well, yeah, it's like, what if one gets shut down? Or do you remember last year when Facebook and Instagram were down for the day?
Yeah.
I still posted on Instagram or on TikTok and YouTube that day and LinkedIn. So it's like I still had three other sources. What if one of them goes belly up?
Yeah.
You want to know you're everywhere, because we saw when MySpace shut down, your Dane Cook, who was the biggest on MySpace, he was nowhere else though. So it's like nobody outside of MySpace knew who he was. Yeah. So you can screw up if you're only on one. So it's just best to be on across all platforms. And if new one come around, why not investigate them as well and see if that could possibly work for you? Because the trends are going to come and go. I'm not married to any of them. I honestly don't care. To me, it's business. It's just these are different avenues to get myself out there. If it works today and doesn't tomorrow, that's fine. I'm kind of ambivalent to it.
Yeah. And I think there's a big thing with social media is people get like too set, like, hey, no one's watching here. So they stop posting there. They feel discouraged. And it happens a lot. And you've had posts that do really good, and you've had posts that literally like 3 people watched. So it's back and forth. But if you don't post, you don't have that opportunity. And even at the same time, if it's 3 people, but one of them's a lead, like, and it goes to selling a house, like, who cares if it was only 3 people? One of the 3 bought a house from me.
Yeah. Yeah, I posted one to YouTube last week, and in the next 2 hours, it had no views, nothing. And I was like, okay, I don't know what's going on, but let's just go post another video. see if this one takes off. So I posted the next video, and it immediately started getting hundreds of views. I'm like, all right, well, it's something maybe I did on that one. So I monkeyed around with how I'd written it up and stuff like that, and hit enter. And over the next week, that one started picking up as well. So it could be how you're typing things out. There's a lot of things that could be going wrong with it.
Yeah. It's definitely one of these like fine tweaking. And then as soon as you fine tweak it and you're like, I got it figured out, I'm good, I'm smooth, we're ramping, be like, and we had an update and everything's changed. Cool. Now I'm lost.
Yeah. So. And it's almost like there's somebody behind the screen that's laughing when they do that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's fine because it's all over. But I also want to stay true to myself as well. So I go, I understand it's not going to hit everybody. We had a podcast that we did that somebody reached out and they said, I got nothing out of that. I don't know what the point of that was. People want to learn and stuff like that. And I was like, no, sometimes people just want to laugh. And then a couple days later, somebody reached out to me and he goes, thanks. I needed that. I needed 15 minutes to decompress from the world, just have a laugh, and just forget about everything else. I'm so glad you posted that podcast. And it's like, okay, I am not everybody's cup of tea, and I'm okay with that. I'm not looking to have every piece of content hit everybody. I'm looking for it to hit one person. If it hits one person, that's great. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And like you mentioned with, hey, what if you have a video that not a lot of people saw? I've had some of those to where somebody reached out to me and she goes, I had to start working with you before you got famous. I just closed on a house with her a week and a half ago, put $10K in my pocket. And it's funny because I'm like, well, I look back at where she came from and those videos weren't getting a lot of views, but she happened to be one that was watching them.
And something I talk about a lot is I call them like the silent watchers. So it's like there's people who are watching, they are your views, they're watching every single video, they're just not ready to buy a house or they're not ready to buy your services yet. But what it does is it builds that relationship. So maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but when they watch you every day for a year or 3 years or 5 years, when they are ready to buy a house, who are they going to go with? Like the person that's helped and trained them and like helped them navigate through the market when they weren't ready. Like you've already made that connection with them before you even know who they are. And that's all the power of social media.
Oh, absolutely. I've already had an agent come over to work with me. I have another one that's coming over in the next month that they were silently watching me and analyzing what I'm putting out there. And they're both like, we want to do what you're doing.
Oh, cool. We got cameras, we got lights. Like,
yeah, but I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know that I was being auditioned, that I was being interviewed without even knowing I was being interviewed.
Yeah. And that's something that's good for not only, bringing in, employees to work with you or, but for your customers too. They get to see you. Like I use you as a reference all the time. I was like, Kevin has his wife on the podcast. So, you don't look at him as a salesperson. You look at him as a person. They talk about where the money goes, what they spend the money goes, or where their trips are. So you're no longer just like that sleazy sales guy. Like there's value to having you be their real estate agent, and then they get to see where it's actually going and what's it going, your life. Like you sort of open up the curtains and show what's going on.
There's a sneaky side to why I do Dad's Rules, because it does give me the opportunity to go interview people outside the industry. I have my wife on quite a bit. We're, as of the recording of this today, we're at 78, 79 episodes that have aired, even though we have 95 in the can. Or up to episode 95 in the can. That'd be funny if I had 95 in the can. I'd be like, oh, I'm really stockpiling these. I'm like a squirrel over the winter or something. But anyway, yes, you're correct. They get to see behind the curtain. They get to see what I'm like and get to really know me. And they do bring it up when I'm out with them. So I do know it works because I don't come across as this robot that's just see home, show home, sell home. They see that, oh, this is a real person. Here's his goofy truck that he drives around, and he's truly a blue jeans and T-shirt kind of guy.
Yeah. So, you do a lot. We're talking about like lots of podcasts, lots of, videos of you doing walkthroughs on house. We're going to do some green screen stuff. I can't talk today, but you do a lot. So what are you looking at on a time thing? Like from a day or a week or a month, how much time does it take for you to make your content, plan your content? And I know you outsource and hire some people, including myself, to help you with that.
Yep.
But on a time, once a month or once a day, what does that look like out of your day to make all that content and post it?
For the posting side of things, like I said, it's 15 to 30 posts a day. It's less than an hour on that. What is that, 4% of your day? It's not a lot of time. So it's about that for that. As far as creating content, I do all the podcast in one day, in one sitting, and it's exhausting. I'm literally brain fried by the end of it, which usually those are some of the better episodes or the last couple of the day because we get kind of goofy because we're recording
happy.
Yeah, we're recording 10 podcasts at a time because I want to drop 2 podcasts a week. So yeah, they can get a little loopy at the end, but that's fine. That's what Bang Energy Drink's for. Shameless plug, and they're not a sponsor.
Yeah, we're working on it.
Yeah. So that's for recording on that. As far as outside sources, yes, I use the media guys for that. For the podcast editing, the reel editing, that's where you guys come in to take care of that for me. And then I have a marketing company out of California that does a lot of work. I use videographers and photographers, obviously, on a lot of shoots. I'll drag people along to take photos of me and doing stuff. Like I did a live last week, and my wife's there. She's my videographer that day, holding the camera as I'm jumping in a pool. But I need the content. Lives, I record those myself, but that's only a couple minutes a day as far as that's concerned. I have 2 outside companies I use that post ads as well as daily content above and beyond what I do as well. So that helps me too, because that adds to the 15 to 30 that I'm posting. But I always want to look like whether I'm promoting Dad's Rules or I'm promoting the Splash program, my marketing program for real estate. I always want to be continually raising my hand. So if you're scrolling, I'm just going to keep popping up.
Yeah. I think, it's sort of that repetition thing. Like
it is.
People, even your best friend's going to forget what you do sometimes and not know exactly. And they're going to like run across someone like, oh, you're looking for a real estate agent. And you want them to be like, hello, I'm your best friend. Like, shout me out, hook me up.
Yeah. But they're probably on my email drip.
Yeah.
so they're still here from. Yeah. There's so many different avenues that people don't think about. And people will be like, does email work? Well, I don't know. I made $40K on it last month, so it must work. So I'm like, look, I'll look at any avenue. And again, I'm not married to any of it. I'm kind of ambivalent. If it stops working, that's great. There's always another one that's going to be the hottest new thing out there.
Yeah.
In whatever company it is. Because it's like I tell people, I'm like, look, I've sold homes on Twitter, and I've sold homes through Instagram posts, through TikToks, as well as through email, and just meeting people at a party. You just don't know where it's going to come from.
And regardless, it still ends in the same thing. You sell or buy a home for them. So
exactly. And
Sweet. So for someone who's new, getting into the social media, sort of working on building a brand, I know you outsource a lot of your stuff, but what would be like your biggest recommendation for them, for someone, coming in new, hungry, they want to grow?
I had that conversation with the new age the other day. It's like, I can't afford 4 figures or whatever a month to pay for this. Well, perfect. You can pay companies like Video, CapCut, Captions. Those are 3 different companies out there that you can put the content in there and it'll cut it, add the little fancy words across in the images and all that. You can do that yourself. And when you're starting, then do that.
Yeah.
Go live every day. That's the other suggestion I give to people. Just go live. And they're like, well, but I'm going to sound sloppy and all this. And it's like, nobody's watching initially anyway.
Yeah.
So get over yourself. It's not like you're dropping to millions of people. Initially, you may have that the only one liking your post is your mom or your dad. Probably your mom, because your dad's going to be like, I ain't liking that. That was garbage.
Yeah.
But mom, she'll like your stuff. So it could just be that your mom's the only one liking it initially. But understand that you're trying to create content because as you're doing that over and over again, you're going to get better at it. Like my lives are way better now than they were when I first did them. Mm-hmm. And the nice thing about going live, and that's probably the one I'd recommend first for anybody, go live. And they'll be like, that's crazy. I don't want to go live. That's scary and all that.
That's the scariest one out of all of them.
It is, but it's like, look, if you're in and out in under 2 minutes, nobody's clicked on and start watching you live anyway. It just ends up in your feed. So just go live. It's going to force you to do it. And if it's really, really bad, you can always delete it and redo it. But honestly, I would keep it. I just keep it because you ever gone back and listened to people's original podcasts and then, because I've done that with a lot of people, I'll like their podcast and I'll go back to the beginning and I'll start listening from the beginning. And it's usually bad. like really,
really bad.
Like really, really
Yep.
bad. Like you listen to an Andy Frisella right now, and it's so polished. You listen to an Ed Milet now, it's very polished because they've been doing it for 6-7 years. The beginning ones, and they'll say this as well, they're kind of awkward as well, but it's a repetition game. Just keep doing them. Eventually, you're going to get better at it. You're going to learn from it. And you're going to be like, man, I can't believe I was doing that. But I'd still keep it. I'd still keep it back there because you don't know. Maybe one of those bad ones, you will say something that does hit somebody in the heart, and they do want to do business with you.
Yeah, and it shows like it just shows who you are. That's how I look at it. Like sometimes I love the super polished ones. I'm the one who goes and polishes them all.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like sometimes alive, you're like, oh, that's a real like untouched raw version of you. Like they know what it is. There's no hiding it or filter on it. Like that's what you really are.
Oh, well, you guys did a really highly polished one for me the other day. And probably 2 hours later, I went live. So it's like I look at that. You don't know what's going to hit. So just do it all. It's like, yeah, I want polished in my catalog of stuff too.
Yeah.
But I also am okay having ones where I'm doing ums, ers, ahs, and belching into the microphone and all kinds of weird stuff. Yeah, I'm okay with all that too.
Yeah.
It's like a jumping into a pool, coming out of the pool, saying prayers to baby Jesus because the water's so cold. I'm like, I'm okay with all that. It kind of shows the realness of you, that we're not all perfect. Because I would say if I was to look back and when I first started doing podcasts to now, the biggest mistake I did on those early podcasts is trying to make them perfect and polished. Like they were all scripted. None of them were on video because I was literally cutting content like crazy. I was taking out every and reshooting a lot of it. It would take me 4 hours to do a 15-minute podcast. Now it's like, you've seen it. I'll rip off 10 podcasts in 15-minute clips, and however long that time that is, that's math.
Sometimes it's longer, the bathroom break in the middle and getting a drink than it is to even rip the podcast. It's like, 10 minutes, whoop, whoop. All right, let me get a 15-minute break before I go rip another 10-minute one.
Well, because some of the funniest ones are when we're sitting there and it ends up being awkward at some point. And I'll just point out the awkwardness because I think it's hilarious. It's like going, well, I guess we're stalling for time here. And then the other day I was doing one and live on, as we're recording it, I dumped an energy drink in my lap. Well, we could have cut because I always have change of clothes. Yeah. We could have cut and just reshot it, but why not just go with it and just have fun because it's probably going to stand out. I mean, my best podcast ever as far as views is concerned was episode 72, and that was me and an iPhone. That's it. So it's like you can go tech like we're doing right now in a studio, and I prefer this. But there's also those times where technology just doesn't do what it's supposed to. You don't have the podcast you wanted to load, and you just got to rip one. Yeah. And you just do, and however it comes out, it just comes out.
Yeah. And that's a big thing we push too, is like done's better than perfect. If we want it to be perfect, we'll spend 5 hours on a 30-second video rather than if we just went live, we would have been done in 30 seconds and we would have moved on.
And I think that's a big problem with a lot of agents in my industry anyway, because most, they don't even post. Like they'll friend request me and I'll see, okay, you've been on for 6 years and you've got 90 total posts. And I only know you're in real estate because I actually looked at who was friending me.
Yeah.
But I'll look at it and go, you have no content. Nobody knows what you're doing on it. And the stuff I do see, highly polished. And I had this talk with an agent at Christmas last year. And I said, just go live. Just go make something. Quit trying to be perfect. And all of a sudden now she's putting out more content. It's like, because it's like she almost needed somebody to give her permission to go get done rather than go get perfect.
Yeah.
Because you're never going to be perfect. Because I look at right now, I'm getting ready to reissue the first book I ever wrote. And I just put it out last time. And this time I'm like, 5 years later, I'm re-editing and changing stuff because 5 years ago, I just needed it done and out. Now it's like, okay, well, time's passed. I can make a little bit more perfect now.
Yeah.
With it. But what if I'd spent the last 5 years trying to make perfect instead? It still went number one on Amazon as not perfect. So it's like it must have been good enough. And now I'm like, okay, well, I've learned some things over the last 5 years. Let's polish it up. Let's reissue it kind of thing. But I'll take the number one 5 years ago.
Yeah. That's not bad.
No, it's perfectly fine. Yeah.
I like that. All right, so I think that's like a big thing for, the people watching. Like, done is better than perfect.
Yeah.
The best time to start is today. You're only just going to get better the farther you go, but you can't really improve in yourself if you don't start. And I think that's where most people get caught up.
In whatever industry you're on, even if you think it's that everybody should know it, guess what? They don't.
Yeah.
They don't. There is so much. Like, I've gotten just in the last week some really questions in real estate that most people think would be silly, if they've been in the industry 15 years like I have. Or I could go, hey, I'm going to rip a bunch of reels off what they said, because obviously this isn't just common knowledge out there. And I'm like, cool. All these questions this person asked me, I now have content.
Yep.
So I looked at it from that point instead.
And there's an audience who doesn't know that because someone physically asked you it. Like, I love when people are like, oh, here's the notes of all the questions I was asked in the last 30 days. I was like, cool, there's all the content we're going to shoot right now, because there's an audience who needs that information. And how many times have you re-answered the same question? I was like, instead of like, oh, here, let me take 5 minutes to explain this to you. Let me take 5 minutes to explain this to you. It's like, here's a video. I went into really good depth. I completely explained everything. We edited it. We polished it all up. Like, watch this video. And then they get so much more out of it because they can pause it. They can really focus in on it. If they miss something, they can go back. And then you saved yourself 5 minutes a week because you get asked that question once a week. And it's like, the farther you go, 15 years later, like, how much time would that saved you?
Yeah, you can do that, especially if you're training people. It's great to cut videos like that for training people. But another thing, if you're just doing reels for the general public, you can recycle content. Not meaning like just having to rebroadcast that old one, but you can just cut it again too.
Yeah.
So you can go, well, it's been a year since I talked about this, or it's been 6 months. Well, if your following is always growing, your audience is always growing, then there's somebody new that doesn't know that anyway. And not everybody goes back and watches everything you posted anyway.
Yeah.
And how many times have you seen it to where you put something out and you get asked that question the next week and you're like, I just did a video on this, but it got lost in the feed and they never saw it. You could have been the next Instagram post, but they stopped that night at 140 scrolls instead of 141, and you just didn't get seen.
Yeah. And that's a big thing too. So yeah, you can reuse the same content. You can reshoot the same thing as a fresh video. So it's a little bit different for the people who have seen it.
Yeah.
But in today's world, normally, even if you post it a month later, they probably forgot, or they're going to be like, that seems familiar. I feel like I've heard this before, but they're not going to be like, oh, you're recycling content. Oh my goodness. So
I did a banger video last year, and it did pretty well last year. And then I recycled it probably 2 or 3 months ago, and it blew up again.
Yeah.
The same video. And people were like, oh, that is hilarious. That was so cool. And I'm like, okay, well, these people commenting, they were following me then. They just didn't see it.
Yeah.
But and I'd had that feeling anyway, because I'd been told that, well, they're not seeing everything. You're hitting what is the general rule of thumb. Less than 10% of your audience is probably seeing it.
Yeah.
Something like that.
We try for more. We can go into the analytics and actually see exactly what that is.
Yeah.
But yeah, most accounts we're looking at around 10%.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like, well, all right, just repost it.
Yeah.
And if it's banger
10%.
content, banger content, why not post it again?
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
All right, so I think we'll wrap up with that. I'm Daquota. I'm your media guy. And then, Kevin, where can they find you? Where can they find their book? If they want to reach out and get a house from you, what's the best way?
The best way to reach me on anything is my Linktree. It's Linktree/Kevin Belzer. That has all my links in it, the book links, swag, everything.
Oh yeah, I forgot we have a whole line of swag.
We got swag. It's got the podcast. It's got. I literally put everything in the Linktree just to make it easier for people.
Perfect. Sweet, and we'll have that pop up on the screen, so it's nice and easy too.
Excellent.
All right. Well, thank you guys. It's Daquota, your media guy. If you have any questions, comment below, and we'll get to them in the next podcast.